Hey, this is Tamatonga, Bullet Club original OG triple OG triple.
What's up? It's CVV, Chris Van Vliet, and you are listening to the Junkyard.
Welcome, everybody, to the most listened podcast on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad Network. Welcome to episode 15 of the Junkyard. My name is Spencer Cantor, also known as number 11. Join the Dark Order. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves to these fine and wonderful people if, for whatever reason, they have not listened to this podcast before.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is time for you to get out from underneath whatever rock you're living under and pay attention, because I'm going to do this only once. Well, maybe, I don't know. I'll probably do it more than once and stuff. But you guys, if you don't know, you should know. My name is Dennis Day Jr., also known as DDJ, the host of What Do You Say with DDJ that drops every Monday at midnight as part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies podcast network.
Cheap.
Well, I got to give the people what they want.
And what the people want, of course, is I. Jovanni 2, Hotty, El Guapo 2, Hotty. Any way you put it, spell it backwards or forwards, it is 2 Hotty. You know, 2 Hotty as in Mr. Always Ready, the one and only Matt Cardona. And gentlemen out there of the Junkyard, if you want to make sure that you are always ready to go one-on-one with that lovely lady in your life, since we are getting close to Valentine's Day, make sure you look into the unofficial, official backer, supplier, and sponsor of the Junkyard podcast. That is Blue Chew. Make sure you're not 6 inches of SAWFT
Soft
when it counts the most, so your Valentine's Day is happy and not full of vengeance.
Oh, man, what a great way to start off with a Blue Chew sponsorship. We're not officially sponsored by Blue Chew, but we are working on it, so hopefully we can get that the ball rolling on that one. But, guys, big week in wrestling. We had some big developments, so I think we just get into it. I got the purple lights on, join the Dark Order. Let's get into it. Here's what happened this week in wrestling. All right, let's start off at the E. Monday Night Raw had a few developments after the Royal Rumble show, which you can catch not only our predictions, but also our recap on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad on audio through iTunes, Spotify, or also go on YouTube, watch that video feed where on the reactions we were joined by one Walsh Meister, Luke Anthony Walsh, who joined us on the recap. So go check those out if you want to know our thoughts on the Royal Rumble. But getting on to Monday Night Raw, few developments happened here. Edge, officially the Royal Rumble winner. He had a match with Randy Orton. I think this is the first time in a long time Edge has had a match on TV. They've usually just been on pay-per-view, so probably going to be seeing Edge on TV a lot more up to the road to WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, I know this is, I want to say, it probably was his first match on Raw, and I'd probably say almost 10 years, because remember, he retired back in 2011 after WrestleMania 27. Oh. So I'd probably say it's been at least 10 years since he last wrestled, on Raw. But just real quick before you kind of dive into it, it's you said that it was a big week in wrestling. Seems like the last couple of weeks we've been saying that, which is always a good thing. So
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the one thing is yeah, the match was good, but I wasn't a fan. I felt like this was almost rushed, this match, the blow off to the feud, because it's like you had the classic last man standing match at WrestleMania. Then you had the greatest wrestling match of all time at Backlash, where, Edge was hurt, and, and I'm sure that probably kind of derailed or through kind of had to make them call an audible on the story. But it just felt to me like this match should have been saved for maybe like the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. I felt like this feud was, it deserved better than just what, in my opinion, felt like it was a thrown together match on a Monday Night Raw. I mean, again, it was good. Obviously, we know somebody played a role in the finish of the match. I'll let one of you gentlemen take the reins of that. But I just felt like this match, this blow off should have been something bigger than what I felt like it was.
I don't know, man. DDJ, I don't disagree with you very often, but here I think it's going to be a little bit of a case where we do, because I think that this was a great way to at least tie up this storyline, free up Edge for his who am I going to take on at the Mania? Who am I going to choose? I am the Royal Rumble winner. So now it all focuses on Edge and his decision, and you don't have to deal with Randy Orton in the back of your mind, and you feel like you've never had that satisfaction of it being closed. And then it serves its another purpose, man, just as you alluded to. Alexa Bliss kind of got in there, kind of have a little bit of craziness going on to further along the storyline between Edge and Let Me Out, right?
Yeah,
so
don't say his name.
You don't want to say his name. And once again, cheap pop for Let Me Out. Not Let Me In as in the WWE, but Let Me Out as in the PWJ show, where my fellas here who are not men on card guys do open up their collectibles, and it kills me, but it's okay. But yeah, man, like I said, you get two for one special here, man. 2 for 1 special. You get to let Edge go on in his road to WrestleMania, and you continue Randy's story from before. So I was fine with it.
Speaking of opening things up, I'm going to have 6 more micro brawlers to open up, because I managed to get each and every one of those Savage variants that was put out on Pro Wrestling Tees. So,
way to do that, PWTs, for a full day of Savage. You guys were savages for a whole damn day.
Yeah, that's impressive. If you don't know what we're talking about, we'll take a little sidebar here, and then we'll get back into Raw. So Ryan Barkin and the team at Pro Wrestling Tees released micro brawlers of Randy Savage, but they did it where they said, hey, you can buy as many as you want for 2 hours, and then they did like different versions. First you had the orange trunks, then you had the Mega Powers, then you had the black and white, then you had like a USA, then the pink one, and then they ended with the lime green. And they also kind of varied with the price too. So yeah. DDJ actually managed to get all of them because he is a completist. So be looking for those on episode of Let Me Out. And as Jovan was saying, I know it killed him. You can check out new episodes of Let Me Out that come out every week on the Pro Wrestling Junkies YouTube page, which honestly, if you're not subscribed to, you should, because we have some amazing content and some amazing content coming. So make sure you guys are subscribed to that PW_Junkies.
But, and real quick, Jovanni, one of the episodes where I open up some micro brawlers, you get a little bit of a shout out, so pay attention.
I feel like he's opening the moose. I feel like the moose got opened.
The moose got opened.
You knew it was going to happen, but I made sure special call out to you just for that one.
I'll be watching.
Oh, man.
All right. In him, because we know you're going to be crying.
All right, let's get back into Raw after that off the rails sidebar. But hey, this is the Junkyard, where we make going off the rails an art form. Look for merch soon.
Yes.
All right. Back into Raw. We had kind of the official debut of one Damian Priest, the Archer of Infamy, is now on Monday Night Raw. And since we were talking about Edge, there was a little moment at the end, or like during the show, where Edge kind of acknowledged Damian Priest. And some people are saying like, oh yeah, that's like when Undertaker acknowledged Cena. I get what they were doing and how they want, Damian Priest to like be a big star. But the dude is great. Don't get me wrong. I think he only maybe has he's actually like, I don't know if you guys know this, but he's like 38 years old. I looked that up. Yep. So he has maybe, if he stays healthy, probably about 10 years left on his career. Definitely what they're trying to do with like him and Bad Bunny, and possibly maybe a potential match, like a tag team match at WrestleMania with The Miz and John Morrison. More than likely, that's where it's leading to with Bad Bunny's in-ring debut. But help him get over with it. That Latin market is what they're really trying to do. But what are your thoughts on where they're going with Damian Priest just after this one episode and seeing his performance at the Rumble?
I'm actually I really liked how they brought him on. Like, I was actually a fan of this. I mean, you throw him in there with Bad Bunny, who is, I guess, is pretty well known in the music scene. I've never heard of him. I don't listen to a lot of the current music. I'm a classic rock guy. So when I first saw him, I'm like, okay, who's this guy and stuff? But obviously doing some research stuff, he's pretty well known and pretty big. So anytime you you got a debuting star paired with someone who's a celebrity on the music scene. That's one thing. It's been pretty well documented. Edge is a huge fan of Damian Priest, and we saw a little bit of that with that little backstage segment. And I actually heard that same comparison to The Undertaker, kind of basically giving, John Cena a pat on the back and saying good job, after his debut against Kurt Angle on SmackDown back in 2002. This showed me that they have a plan for Damian Priest, and I think it's great. It's well-deserved. You talk about like how he's going to be, big for the, the Latin American market and stuff. I mean, think about it. He's Puerto Rican. How many like major stars really are there that are representative of Puerto Rico? I mean, yeah, there was Carlito, but even that, but I mean,
Savio Vega.
Yeah,
Carlos Colon.
Right. There were a few, but I mean, the Puerto Ricans really, and I don't feel like they've had it, guys just, hey, that's our guy. And I think that this is going to be someone that a lot of them are going to go to and say, that's our guy. Like I said, I definitely think there are big plans in the works for Damian Priest, and I'm all for it.
Well, Punishment Martinez, you done it. You know what, Damian Priest, I'm all in. Bad Bunny, I'm mixed. Hopefully I start to warm on the situation by Mania. But, man, vaya boricua, mi gente que está ahí. This is me, bro, Jovanni Hotty, Puerto Rican blood in my veins. Talking straight about Puerto Rican wrestlers, man. I think Pedro Morales was the last big one that we had that we could really get behind. That's not named Colon because, my feelings with the Colon family aside and Carly being one of the only one that I actually like, Carlito. It has been a while since a true crossbreed Puerto Rican athlete has been on top. LAX has their thing, or I guess now they're Pride and Powerful in AEW, which is Santana and Ortiz. They rep our colors beautifully, and man, I freaking love Pride and Powerful. That's what the Puerto Rican people are. But now into the WWE, trying to bring in Bad Bunny, trying to maybe get that demographic. I'm all for it. But like I said, as for Bad Bunny actually having a match, he showed he's not scared to do stuff because he took that top rope jump. But we'll see what happens at Mania, man. I think, if anything, I like to see Miz get slapped. So I'm okay with it for right now.
Yeah, it's always good when the Miz gets slapped or, made fun of. He makes enough money and he's fine at home. He can handle it.
Dude, Miz, Mike Mizanin from freaking Parma, Ohio. My man, you are on the list.
Yes.
Oh, I would have been shocked if he wasn't on the list.
Oh, no.
I would have had Jovanni, I was gonna say, if you don't put the Miz on your list when I see you in April for the CCW show, I was gonna slap you.
Oh no, she has to be on the list.
All right. Back on a few things of Raw, then we'll finish this up and then move on. Guys, it looks like maybe Drew McIntyre, the current WWE champion, might be having a new challenger very soon, and maybe it's his best friend, Sheamus. Sheamus has slowly been, showing a more aggressive side over the last few weeks, and we basically got that full turn on last week's episode of Monday Night Raw. So maybe building that feud up now.
Here's my shocked face.
DDJ was so shocked. If you're listening to audio, I'm joking. He's not shocked. I don't think anyone was.
No. But again, it kind of reminded me, obviously not on the scale, but it's kind of like, okay, everybody knew MJF was going to turn on Cody, but
Exactly.
he still reacted when it happened. And this was kind of the same thing, maybe not as big, as reacted as powerfully, as we did with MJF. That's kind of what I like in this heel turn too. Everybody knew it was coming. But still, when you saw it, it was like, oh wow, they actually did it and stuff. So I think this match is going to be physical. Whether or not this is what they have planned for Drew, at Mania, I don't think so. I think this will kind of come to conclude. I think this will come to fruition before WrestleMania because I think Drew's got is going to be on to bigger and better things when it comes to whoever he faces at Mania. But this will be a nice little feud to carry. I think Drew as into WrestleMania season.
Yeah, I'll give it to you too, man. For some reason, I didn't like happy-go-lucky Sheamus, boyo happy, just drinking up, and we're best friends, we're best bros. No, man, Sheamus is a fighter coming out in his wife beater with his damn suspenders and hat. No, that's a fighter. Give me heel Sheamus any day because he looks like he's ready to do a freaking bar fight. So I'm in for this turn finally. Like DDJ said, I don't think this lasts till Mania because I have a sneaky suspicion that maybe Edge is going after Drew McIntyre for the belt. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Edge is a wild card, so we'll have to keep looking out for that. But I don't think this lasts to Mania. There's no way. But it'll be a good program.
Yeah, Edge is definitely going to be a wild card because, he showed up on the other shows. Last week, he showed up on NXT, pretty much face down Finn Balor and Pete Dunne because they have a match coming up at the next TakeOver and then with Roman Reigns. So they're definitely kind of leaving it up in the air for all the different possibilities that Edge could go. So that's going to be a very interesting story just with every champion going on. The last thing I had for Raw, and then I'll let you guys throw in anything else if you wanted to. So Bobby Lashley and Matt Riddle faced off. I think this was the United States Championship match that was supposed to be, or at least rumored to be, on the Royal Rumble card, but they put it on Raw. Bobby Lashley basically destroyed Riddle on Monday night. Where do you guys see they're going with this storyline now?
Jovanni, why don't you lead this one off?
They need to take this storyline where it needs to go, into straight, utter dominance. Let Bobby Lashley go. He's just shown you that this man is a killer. Now, whether that is still being the killer for the Hurt Business, the CFO of Beatdowns, I'm down for that because I would like to see the Hurt Business actually stay together instead of still kind of showing some breaks and cracks in the wall. But at least they've shown that the monster in the group, Bobby Lashley, is not a punk. That this dude, when he needs to take it up to 10, he's killing people. So I'm happy to see him be dominant. I want him to be dominant. DDJ, what you got?
This should have been the Lashley we've gotten since he came back. This should have been the Lashley it's almost because what he debuted after the night after WrestleMania 35, or he came back, correct?
Yep.
So we're talking about almost 2 years that he's been back, and now we're just finally getting the Lashley we should have gotten back then. I love it. Like, he legit looked like, man, this is one dude you do not want to be on the bad side of. And that, and it looked like, it got to the point where the beatdown was so bad. MVP looked like he's like, all right, man, I think he's had enough, and he was trying to call Lashley off, and it's just, I really hope this version of Lashley sticks around because, man, this is way overdue, and it's just, I'm all in on this version of Lashley.
Yep.
All right. So that's what I had for Monday Night Raw. Also want to give a shout out. Carlito wrestled on Monday night after his appearance in the Rumble. Dude's looking jacked as ever. There's rumors that this is kind of like a tryout for maybe a producer role or maybe a few more matches on Raw. So that'll be interesting to see what they do with Carlito. I said on our Junkyard, I think it was a recap show or prediction show, probably recap show. I said that I believe that maybe this might be a time where Carlito gets like maybe that MVP spot. He comes back for a match or the Rumble. He does a match after Raw. He doesn't look like he might be sticking around, but then actually does maybe like a career resurgence. Even though, he's doing great elsewhere, maybe just like a resurgence and a final run on the main roster on WWE television. So be interesting to see where that goes.
He looks really good. You can, again, like I said before, you can tell he spent a lot of time in the gym because I think this is the best he's ever looked in terms of his body and stuff. And that, so I definitely am all for it. I fully expect them to kind of get that, basically to kind of do the thing that MVP did last year. Come back at the Rumble, like you just said, Spence. Wrestles on Raw, and then eventually, gets hired back on full time to wrestle and also be a producer. So I'm all for it because he looked good, and he still showed he can go, and why not? You know what? I'm good. I'm definitely happy with it.
Oh yeah, man. Carly Colon looks amazing. He's just ripped shred to the gills right now. You could definitely tell he's been putting in the work. Whether he stays long term, I don't really see him being a manager of sorts, unless I don't want to see him with Lucha House Party, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh God.
But
No.
yeah, if he stays as a full time in the front of the camera wrestling, I'm cool with it. I want to see what they do with him.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to touch on Raw, or you want to move to the other E show?
Let's take it to Friday nights.
All right. Friday Night SmackDown. It had some big developments. I heard there was actually a really good match. Unfortunately, I have not had a time to watch this, so I'm going to let these gentlemen take it, and I'll throw in my thoughts. So, guys, tell me about SmackDown and what was good.
4 words. Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro.
Yes.
That's 5 words, but okay.
No, it's 4.
The yes was agreement. That was like yes. Yeah.
All right. Tell me about the match.
Oh God, that right there, that kind of stuff is why I love professional wrestling. Those two guys went out and gave it their all. And I mean, obviously, you know, there was one casualty. You know, Cesaro got a nice gash on the side of his head. I didn't quite catch how that happened. So Jovanni, if you could fill in the blank on that one you talk about, I'd appreciate it and stuff. But that didn't stop them from having a great match. And it's just, again, Daniel Bryan does business the right way, in my opinion. He clearly knows, you know, he's been open about it. This is his last full-time run, you know, in the company and in his career. And he's doing things the right way. He's going out there, putting on these great matches with these guys, and he's putting them over to making them look good. They talked about how I believe this was like Cesaro's second win over Daniel Bryan. I want to say in 3 weeks or something, like 2-3 weeks and stuff, you know, and this time he made Daniel Bryan tap out like clean to the sharpshooter. And I mean, when was the last time Daniel Bryan tapped out clean in a match?
Yes. And the way, and I love Cesaro, dude. Cesaro, everything he does, you believe it. And Daniel Bryan, I mean, God, man, we've talked about him a lot. You guys already know he can go in the ring. So when you get two guys who can go in the ring, they are great storytellers. This match is everything that you have ever wanted between these two. And it's a shame that it wasn't for a title because it felt like it should have been. But the classic finish with the sharpshooter, I freaking loved it. I'm a big fan of submission finishes. Then the double down DDJ. I don't remember how the heck he got cut open, if it was a kick or something, but that was definitely a bar burner. One of the best things I've seen from the WWE match wise, outside of the NXT O'Reilly and Balor. But that was just greatness.
Right.
Okay, I will definitely have to go back and watch that match for sure. There was a report before we move on that kind of revolves around Cesaro. Right now, like Shinsuke Nakamura, he got that gauntlet run a few weeks ago. And that was actually supposed to go to, well, the reports say supposed to go to Cesaro, but because he hadn't signed a contract yet, and it looks like he has signed a contract with WWE, so he'll be staying there for a while now. Yeah, basically, but we're not going to talk about that. But hey, congrats to Cesaro. You made the decision, what you thought was best for you. Nobody else can make that decision but you. I know some people don't agree with it, but it is ultimately their decision. But he was supposed to like get that big run, and maybe there might have been a push for him. Even though he didn't get that, with his win over Daniel Bryan, his more kind of relevance on kind of TV and getting kind of like a mini push, do you see something more coming for Cesaro now?
Maybe a run with the Intercontinental title, but I mean, if we're talking, is he gonna get a push maybe towards a WWE title match, or maybe even a win? If it happens, it's not going to be for a while. But I could definitely see him getting pushed up, maybe more towards like the Intercontinental title. Like maybe he's the one that takes the title off Big E.
Yeah.
I don't see them taking it off of E right now. Big E is we'll talk about Big E and the triple threat, or at least we can segue off of this comment.
Hey,
But
perfect. Go ahead.
Big E to me right now as Intercontinental Champion, his storyline with crazy Sami Zayn, and I guess you could throw Apollo in there. Just happens to be in the story as well, but everybody knows it's Big E and Sammy driving the story.
Yeah.
This whole thing is great right now. They're actually doing this pretty good. Cesaro, unfortunately, I feel like he's going to have good matches with the guys that we've always known that he can go with.
Right.
And maybe that's enough for him to be able to be making decent money and to put on matches with these guys that we know he can go with. But I don't see him capturing another title, to be honest, which sucks because he's a hell of a worker.
Oh, a fantastic worker.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you alluded to the match that happened between the Intercontinental Championship match with Big E, Sami Zayn, and Apollo Crews, where Big E did retain the title. How was that match? How did it go overall? I know like the last one they had, not a triple threat, but it was Apollo and Big E, and they were doing good. And then, they had the one a few weeks ago, whatever, then Sami Zayn interrupted. Now they finally had the triple threat match with Big E retaining.
I liked it. I mean, everybody, all three guys each had their time to shine in the match. And which is a lot of time, what you want to accomplish in a triple threat match, to kind of take a line off of the Brian Cage, the Machine, everybody, everybody wants to, GMSI. And for those of you who don't know what that stands for, it's get my shit in. Everybody got their shit in that match. And, and that was great. I love the ending, and you could clearly tell that this isn't done yet, because if you watched Apollo leaving the ring after being pinned, you could tell he was upset with himself. And I don't think this is the last that we see of, these three guys being, intertwined with Intercontinental title matches. But no, I thought the match was great.
Oh, yeah. That's DDJ covered it all, man. And you popped me with the damn getting my shit in. But
I didn't even know what that was, though. Yeah.
That was greatness. But like the match was amazing. The story continues. Sammy gets to keep his conspiracy theory angles going. To me, this was really well done from a story standpoint and from an actual wrestling standpoint, which is rare. We got to say that twice tonight. Keep going.
All right. Wow. Sounds like SmackDown was a really good show. Next up, we have, we'll get to that in a minute, but we have a return coming on next week's edition of SmackDown, or actually this week's edition of SmackDown. He did appear as number 29 at the Royal Rumble. The Friday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins, father to the baby of Becky Lynch. I can't remember the name, but
that baby's Peppy.
He will be returning to Friday Night SmackDown this week. Where do you guys see them going with Seth Rollins now? Now that he do you see him maybe going back to his storyline with Rey and Dominic, or going a completely different direction?
Please, please, please stay away from Rey. That storyline has been beaten to death. Honestly, I kind of thought about this, like, who would I like to see him feud with? You know what? Give me Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan. Let Bryan put Rollins over, and stuff. I no doubt in my mind, these guys have wrestled before and put on some great matches I believe on Monday Night Raw and stuff. Give me Seth Rollins going after Daniel Bryan and maybe trying to get him to become his next disciple or something.
I'm going to go complete swerve from that, DDJ. I want the Messiah gimmick to be dropped.
Agreed.
I don't want the Friday Night Messiah. I want burn it down, greasy haired Seth freaking Rollins back.
Oh, we're going to try that again?
Yes. I want that because that is going to be what he can successfully do to come back and try to take down Roman. Tell me you don't want to see the Tribal Chief against Burn It Down Rollins.
If they do the storyline correctly, I would say yes, but I know they I mean, they're doing great with the Roman storyline, but just something about Seth, man, that just I don't know. We'll have to see that, but I think there's people out there that definitely want to see it, but just has to be executed right. And I think honestly, right now is probably not the time. I think it needs to be kind of like a slow burn, and don't rush it. That's what I would say.
There you go. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing those two go at it and stuff, because obviously, their careers will forever be intertwined with each other, along with Dean Ambrose, aka John Moxley, who we're going to be talking a lot about later, and stuff. But yeah, no, maybe, you know what? If given the right build and stuff, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Maybe that can be your SummerSlam main event.
Yep.
Possibly. All right. And back on to the show from last week. Bianca Belair, your 2021 Women's Royal Rumble champion.
Called it.
Yes, you did.
Yes, DDJ, we know you called it. Still upset that Alexa Bliss totally got destroyed in that match and got thrown out. We're not going to talk about that.
Loved it.
But congrats to Bianca Belair. I didn't think they would strap the rocket on you this soon, but it'll be very interesting to see where you go. Right now, you can either choose between Asuka or the woman you were in the ring with, Sasha Banks, who apparently is not done with Carmella yet, so might be getting one more match between them, possibly at the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, it obviously Friday night showed that Carmella's not done yet. But I just, like I said before, when we were doing our Royal Rumble prediction show and we were talking about who we thought was going to win the Women's Royal Rumble match, I picked Bianca, but it was basically because I felt like if you want a big time, big money WrestleMania match, you can't. There are very few combinations based on the women's roster right now that would be bigger than on that stage than Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. And I love what Carmella's done. Again, she's greatly improved in the ring, and stuff. But for me, to throw if Carmella gets thrown into this, it cheapens Bianca's Royal Rumble win, in my opinion. And to me, it takes away from the greatness of how good that one-on-one match could be. Like I said, give me Bianca versus Sasha one-on-one at Mania. I'm set. Yeah, like Carmella have one more match at, Elimination Chamber or Fastlane. Get that story done. And yeah, like I said, Carmella will have her time in her moment in the sun sometime this year. But it's just right now, you got to go with Bianca versus Sasha at Mania.
And that's what the beauty of where we're at right now, man. There is time between now and Mania to be able to close some of these storylines, like the Sasha and Carmella, like the Belair, and quite frankly, I don't think she's done with Bayley yet. So there's still some time to wrap up some of those loose ends so we can get that mega showing we want of the Boss going against the EST. I think that is a bona fide seller. That's going to make money any way you look at it. That's a hell of a matchup. Mm-hmm. And shout out once again to what was his name? The designer guy who does the clothing.
Makazi.
Makazi. Shout out to Makazi, boy. After Friday night in that leather suit, bro. Shit, you were on the list twice. Wow, man. You're on the list twice.
I think that might be the first time we actually got like a double list on that one. So
yes,
Makazi, man, you are on the list twice. Let's finish off SmackDown here. Edge, as we talked about from Monday Night Raw, is making the rounds, talking to the champions. Roman, he wanted to basically, he got tired of him. Like, I want to know your decision. I want you to tell me by the end of the tonight and then acknowledge me as the tribal chief. So there was a little face off between Edge and Roman. But guys, there was a match at the Royal Rumble that ended in controversy, where Paul Heyman took about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, an hour, however you want to say it, to get some handcuffs off Roman Reigns. So naturally, Kevin Owens comes out and stuns Roman Reigns. So we are more than likely getting another match between KO and Roman Reigns. So that feud is not done. So the decision for Edge is going to be put on the back burner for now, but we're getting KO versus Roman. I think this is 4 now.
Yep.
At least this feud.
Yep. We've had so far the 3 matches that we've had between KO and Roman Reigns. First off, we had the TLC match at TLC. We then had the steel cage match. Then we had the last man standing match. It really,
3 stages of hell.
Oh, yes.
3 stages of hell. It's the only logical conclusion on what comes next.
Well, yeah, and basically that was going to be my question. And Jovanni, you must have been reading my mind and stuff, because I was going to say, what more can you do really to for this feud in terms of a match? And yeah, like you said, 3 stages of hell may be the way to go. And that.
When's the last time we saw one of those, DDJ?
Oh God,
it's been a while, dude.
Was the last one what, Austin and Triple H, right? They fought one, or was that Nick Paul and Triple H?
Triple H had one against Shawn Michaels at Armageddon 2002, where he won back the title.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
HBK got at the Survivor Series that year in that first Elimination Chamber match.
Right.
I feel like we've had one of those since. I'm just trying to think of who. And maybe while Giovanni's talking, I can try to look it up. But I feel like we've had one since then. But yeah, maybe that I can't think of anything else in terms of like where you can go with this feud to have that one more match that would definitively kind of put the, be the end of this feud. So I'm actually gonna, Jovanni, I'm gonna let my man El Guapo talk here. And I'm going to try to see if I can figure out when the last 3 stages of hell match was.
Yeah. Hey, DJ, I actually got you before I was looking it up. So these are the matches that have happened. You've had the last one, yes, was at Armageddon. But then between then, you've actually had 3. So you had Randy Orton versus Triple H. You had John Cena versus Ryback. Yeah. And then And then the very last one was Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. That's when they had like that weird steel cage at TakeOver. So that was the last one.
I felt like there's been more since 2002. Was the Orton Triple H one? That wasn't the one at No Mercy where they fought in 3 different matches throughout the show. Was there? Or did they have?
It's not saying what pay-per-view, but
okay. But yeah, no. Now that you mentioned Gargano versus Cole, I
remember that one. Yeah,
I remember that one. I remember now that you bring it up. So, but Jovanni, thoughts on this?
Thoughts on it, man. I love that Roman feels like he is the big enough draw, or at least he's the big enough thing in his mind that he can rush the Royal Rumble winner into the decision. Mr. No, you're going to tell me by the end of tonight, are you coming after me? Because it's disrespectful if you don't respect me as the head of the table. So, piece of character for him. I like it. Edge continues to be the wild card. He showed up on all 3 shows. Hell, he might have been on 205 Live, but nobody watches that. And like we stated, man, KO and Roman, how do you win this off? Maybe 3 stages of hell. Bring back an old match, man. I want something classic we haven't seen. Bring a casket. Bring something, man. Give me something we haven't seen in a while. Buried alive. I don't know.
Ooh.
So you're basically saying bring back 2 matches that should involve the Undertaker in this match.
Yeah, but Taker isn't the only one who's been in those matches.
Well, since we're throwing out random matches, let's just put him in a Kennel from Hell match.
You know what? Why don't we just put him in a damn Judy Bagwell on a pole match?
There you go. Vince Russo is back on SmackDown now.
Here's one for you, and Blue Chew, if you're listening to this, we had Vince Russo once book a Viagra on a pole match. Let's book these 2 in a Blue Chew on a pole match.
Yes.
Okay, one, how is that not a thing? Not for this, honestly, that doesn't need to happen. We need something like bloody, intense, and violent, personal. But that needs to be a thing. It's some indie wrestler. Joe Janela, if you find your way to this, that's like perfect for a spring break or something. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I got it. I want the triple cage match from Ready to Rumble.
Yes!
And DDP makes an appearance. Let's go.
Bang!
We see the return of Jimmy King.
Yes. He will crown you.
Jimmy King, he's the best wrestler. He's the bestler. Better than all the wrestlers.
All right, so we'll probably take that part out because that's probably copyright.
Well, we make going off the rails in art form. Hell yeah.
All right, well, let's kind of get back on the rails. We still got a lot of shows to talk about.
Let's do it.
Let's kick it back to Tuesday night, Impact Wrestling. We had the reveal that one of the Rascals had finally made his decision of where he was staying. We got 2 in NXT with MSK, but we still needed to know where Trey Miguel goes. Where was he going to go to NXT? Was he going to go to AEW? Nah, he just decided to stay at Impact. So Trey Miguel is still at Impact. So, guys, where do you see that going?
I love it. I think this was the best move for him because I always felt like he was going to be the breakout star of the Rascals. Like he was going to be the one that kind of, stepped it up a notch and kind of took himself to the next level. And I don't think he would have been able to achieve that anywhere else. Because, I mean, WWE, they probably would have just put him with, MSK and just made them a trio. AEW, I think there's so many guys there. I don't think he really would have had a chance to stand out. I felt like this was the best place for him to kind of be where I think he wants to be. And I know he signed with Impact because it was like a more favorable schedule for what he wanted to do. And I just feel like he's kind of made his name in Impact, and I think he can make his name. He can make himself even a bigger star here. So I'm all for it. I love the promo. I love the fact that he's basically saying is that he wants to prove to everyone that he can do this on his own, and he doesn't need. I believe what he referred to Dak and Wentz as crutches, and he just wanted to prove to himself that he didn't need those crutches. And I see Jovanni shaking his head, so I know he wasn't. I don't believe he was a huge fan of this and stuff. So Jovanni, my man, take it away.
Trey Miguel, great idea with staying with Impact. Horrible idea of immediately turning your back on what made you. How are you going to turn your back on the guys, the Rascals, who made you who you were? Yes, you were always destined to be the Shawn Michaels of the group, but you don't turn on them, especially with them no longer being in the company. It's kind of unneeded because they can't hold you back if you felt like they were, so there's no need to call them crutches. I think that was a little tasteless. Hats off to I believe Tommy Dreamer, who was like, dude, what the hell? You're coming out here calling guys that were your best friends crutches. That's not what we do. So, I mean, for what it was, I guess he's trying to get heat. Trey Miguel to me is not a heel type, so heel promo, calling guys that were your friends dead weight didn't go over well with me. I'm a very big fan of him athletically and what he can do going forward. Definitely the right choice with Impact. Horrible choice on promo, and we'll see where he goes.
All right. He wasn't the only one because he returned last week, but then, this was kind of like his talking to the Impact crowd or the pipes and sounds that are there until they actually get someone. Impact, please get people in your crowd. But we also had the return of an Impact knockout legend, ODB, back on Impact TV.
Bam!
So it was great seeing her back too. Then we had Rashid Raju beating TJP, the Impact X Division champion right now, with help from Manabali Shera.
Man, Rohit Raju is really becoming one of my favorite guys in Impact Wrestling. I love his character. I love how, he's basically playing that, why does it, like he's always feels like he's being overlooked and he uses every dirty trick in the book to get the win. And I think this is having the return of Mahabali Shera as like his heavy. I think it's just going to take that Rohit Raju character to another level because now he's going to be that obnoxious heel. Like he's going to basically become like an AJ Styles type character where he can basically go around, say whatever he wants and do whatever he wants because he's got, someone backing him up. Like he's going to feel like he's invincible. And I think that's going to prove to be a great asset to his career. And I fully expect him to get that X Division title back sooner rather than later.
Let me put it this way. Rohit Raju, when it was just him complaining about who Manic is, who was under the mask, I love the whole comedy aspect of that. Trying to TJP, everybody knows. Well, he didn't know, and that was hilarious. Now you give him his own bodyguard, this big muscle behind him, and you've already got someone in Raju that They called him. He was the Desi Squad's hitman, right? This is a hitman. This dude can go when he wants to. That's the key thing. He doesn't really want to all the time. He likes to play the heel. He likes to do his cheating tactics to go over. And you give him a big, I guess, piece of equipment for a heel, a big bodyguard. No, this dude's about to catch fire. TJP, I love everything you do. I love the Dark Manic, but Rohit's about to get that belt back.
All right, Rashid Raju is getting his belt back very soon from TJP, who was always manic. All right, next up, Violence by Design. First off, guys, I love that name. I love this whole faction with Eric Young, Joe Doring, and was it Diener? Yeah, Diener.
Yes.
Former Cody Diener. So they're trying to recruit some new members. They actually tried to recruit cousin Jake to join Violence by Design. Where do you think they're going with this?
I think they're basically kind of trying to go the same route with cousin Jake that they did with Cody, where it's just like it was over time, where like they're basically trying to break his spirit because basically a man with a broken spirit is like, prime target for someone who wants to manipulate others, like we're seeing with Eric Young. I mean, he's, got, Joe Doring under spell, he got, Diener under his spell. And I think he's just trying to do that with cousin Jake. And I mean, it may come down to, because it seems like every week that, cousin Jake's been in the ring with someone from this group, he's gotten beaten down, and it's going to get to a point where maybe he's just like, you know what? I've got nothing left. I can't do this anymore. You know what? I'm in, or something like that. And I mean, why not? I mean, it seems like this is really kind of, giving Cody Diener's career a boost. Why not, give it to Jake as well too? I think he's going to do it? I'm kind of leaning towards no, but I mean, I'm not like 100% sure of that.
This is storytelling and wrestling 101. You get the big heel group. You get someone who's trying to manipulate everybody in the freaking world-class maniac Eric Young. He's got, like DDJ said, the big bad Joe Doring. He's got Diener. And they put an emblem and a big bullseye on the back of cousin Jake. Why? Because cousin Jake symbolizes everything that Diener used to be. Cousin Jake is the past. Cousin Jake is exactly in Eric Young's mind. Cousin Jake signifies everything that's wrong with the business right now. That's the way he's going to view him. And you're either going to take him out or you're going to offer him to join you, because either way, you're going to clear the problem. You're either going to get taken out or you're going to join us. Now, he's not going to join them. I don't see that happening. But what this does at least gives us the ability to show that this group, number one, they're going to be a mainstay. They're going to be a force. They're building this group up the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, they're going to give you the hint that the group may be recruiting. So it's going to grow. It's not going to be just these three guys in a faction. So they're giving you small seeds in the storyline. I'm very, very vested to see where Violence by Design goes. Outside of being a Big EY fan, I think this could be one of the better storylines they have going that's probably getting overlooked.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Violence by Design, definitely here to stay for a while. So definitely going to be interesting to see where they continue going with that storyline. And also with, the recent, trading of talent and seeing, Impact stars on AEW, AEW stars on Impact, might be awesome. Maybe see a Violence by Design have some interaction with maybe another faction in AEW. So maybe that could happen. That'd be cool. Next up, we had a match with Tommy Dreamer and Rich Swann, who are going to be facing each other at the No Surrender Impact Plus show happening this week on Saturday night versus Chris Bay, the ultimate finesser, and Jovan's favorite wrestler of all time because he won't shut up about him, Moose. So, Jovan, take it away, my man.
Well, this is a breakdown, and once again, I'm going to have to really say I don't understand where Chris Bay keeps coming in this equation. Of course, Dreamer and Swan because of the face aspect, and Swan's giving Dreamer a shot at the title, blah, blah, blah. Moose, of course, being the big heel and the thorn in Swan's side, who was the unclaimed champion in my eyes. Moose will be champion one day. Chris Bay, the ultimate finesser. The guy can go, but he's a fringe wrestler, man. He's not quite face, not quite heel. People love him. He can get over. But I think he's in there because there's not another legitimate heel that can team with Moose right now. So I guess that's why they keep plugging him in there. But Moose and Bay, they work well together. They've had some good matches the past few weeks. Big time fan of it. I mean, it's pretty much a rehash of what we got the prior week with the 4v4. But these guys can go, man. I mean, there's no real ifs, ands, or buts. The same results, man. Anytime you go against the Moose, you're going to get the horns.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I thought this was a great match, and I mean, clearly this is all building up to the eventual Rich Swann versus Moose match, which
of course
I'm thinking it's going to be. I think their next major pay-per-view is what, like in April, I think.
The Rebellion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be the main event, because it seems like we haven't really seen much of the AEW champion on Impact as of late. He's been, those guys have been more taking care of business over in AEW. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But I, for one, I like I said, I love this match. I thought it was, a great TV main event, and I'm hyped, and I'm hyped and ready for Moose versus Swan, and kind of a little bit of a sneak peek. If you haven't listened to episode 27 of my podcast that dropped yesterday, my guest, his name, he's known as Paragon. We were talking about, guys he follows, in the current product, and we spent a couple minutes talking about Moose. So, I mean, Moose is definitely someone that I think is really starting to creep up on everybody's radar.
Amazing to hear.
Yes. So. Jovan just got really happy when you said that on here. Right. All right, one last
thing. Blue Chew.
No Blue Chew right now.
No Blue Chew needed on this one.
But what do you want to make sure, gentlemen of the Junkyard, that you can go all night long and go with the power of Moose? Go ahead and reach out to the official sponsor of the Junkyard, Blue Chew. Chew it.
And do it. All right.
Real quick. Since we referred to, we talked about the natural. Quick kind of thing here, real quick. As many of you know, the wrestling world lost a great one this past week. The natural Butch Reed. So condolences to his family.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Pete Butch. Last thing before we move off Impact, we had the return of one of the former members of LAX. Hernandez is back on Impact Television and actually will be having a match with Brian Myers facing off against Matt Cardona and Eddie Edwards at the No Surrender Impact Plus show this Saturday. So we'll see where that goes.
All right. I think that pretty much covers everything I want to talk about with Impact.
Wednesday night
wars, and Wednesday night is probably going to be one to remember for sure. Let's start with NXT, and then we'll move on to AEW because that's where the good stuff is. All right, definitely NXT was bad by any means of the stretch. But so NXT, we'll do a quick recap of the Dusty Rhodes tag team tournament matches that happened. I'll let you guys talk about them, go through that. First off, we had the one women's Dusty Cup match, Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. They defeated the team of Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. Then on the men's side, we had Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza defeating Lucha House Party. And then in our main event of the evening, you had Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher defeating the Undisputed Era, the team of Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. So, guys, I'll start with y'all. Kind of what were your thoughts on the match, and are you happy with who won?
I think they got it right with all three of these matches. There were no swerves, not unlike we had in the first round with these tournaments. There were a lot of swerves and stuff. Yeah. I think that all three of these teams that advanced are, were the right choices to go with. I mean, we all pretty much, I think, were. Well, no, I think Spencer, you were the one that picked Mercedes Martinez and Tony Storm to win the.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I mean, I'm not surprised that any of these teams won. It does set up some intriguing matches in the semifinals of the men's cup, because I think now that it's Thatcher and Champ, I believe, against the team I picked to win, the Grizzled Young Veterans. And then you have on the other side, you have MSK versus Legado del Fantasma, which I think that match is going to be just outstanding.
That's going to be a burner. That might be one of the better matches of the week.
Yeah, and I think we're all getting that. I think we're getting those two matches along with the remaining semifinal match in the Women's Cup, because I think we're going to see both the finals of both men's and women's Dusty Cup at TakeOver. So
TakeOver Vengeance Day. Yep.
All three of these matches were the right calls, and it's setting up for what's going to be a great finale to these tournaments.
Oh yeah,
man, I can't disagree. It was overall pretty strong night for the way that things should have gone.
Yes, no swerves. Everybody went over. Kind of just my quick thoughts on this one. Definitely Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai looks like a well-oiled machine. Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro put up a great fight. Casey, I think, has a bright future in NXT. She does some innovative offense. Great to watch. So it'd be interesting to see where they go with that. But Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai are basically the clear favorites to win this tournament. I thought they were at the beginning, but then, when Tony Storm and Mercedes Martinez were announced, I'm like, okay, we'll go with that. But I definitely think Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai are going to run away with this one. Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza, this is my first time seeing them as a team on NXT. Those guys can go. Joaquin Wilde is on another level with what he does in the ring. So I think that MSK match versus Wilde and Mendoza is going to be a show stealer. Maybe even might even be our future Junkyard Pick of the Week. There we go. Which you guys can catch right after we finish with AEW. We'll be giving our matches of the week, the ones that you guys need to be watching if you didn't get a chance to watch wrestling. And then, of course, Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, the odd pairing, beating the Undisputed Era. I think it was basically writing on the wall that the Undisputed Era weren't winning this year's tournament. So we'll see where kind of they go with the future of the Undisputed Era now that they're out of the Dusty Cup tournament. Next week, or actually tomorrow, Cameron Grimes is coming back for a match on NXT. So, Dennis, give the people what they want.
Ladies and gentlemen, NXT is about to head straight to the moon.
To the moon. We had a new match announced for, actually two new matches announced for NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. First off, we had Johnny Gargano versus Kushida for the NXT North American Championship. Will be happening on that night. And then we officially get confirmation that Finn Balor will be facing off against Pete Dunne for the NXT Championship. And this is actually the point when Pete Dunne came out, talked, and then Balor came out. They talked and had good promos, and then Edge comes out, basically says, the NXT was kind of one of the reasons that pushed Edge to come back because of what he had seen, between Balor and Dunne and just from the whole NXT as a whole. So he said, whoever wins, he's going to be keeping a very close eye on the match that happens at TakeOver Vengeance Day. So possibly, there's rumors that we still don't know who Edge is going to go against. The big rumor is he's going to go against Roman Reigns for the Universal title, but man, don't tell me you wouldn't be very interested to see Finn Balor versus Edge. And I know, we've had this experiment in the past where it was Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, and then Charlotte Flair went over for the NXT title, NXT Women's title. I would like to see Edge win a title, and I think to do that, he would need to go as one of the big champions. But don't tell me you wouldn't be interested to see Edge versus Finn Balor. That match would kill.
honestly, if in terms of like who I think would give him the best match, no doubt in my mind, it would be Finn Balor. But right now, to me, like logistically speaking, it makes the most sense for Edge to go after Roman Reigns because you can't really put him up against Drew because that's going to force fans to choose a side. You can't do the same against Finn because it's going to force fans to choose a side. I think if you put Edge against Roman Reigns, it's pretty much, it's going to be unanimously, everybody's going to be rooting for Edge. So to me, and it's just so, I think that logistically that makes the most sense. But in terms of match quality, oh my God, give me Edge versus Finn Balor.
Return of the hot take. Return of the hot take.
Oh, we haven't got one of these in a while.
Oh,
Two
man,
hot takes.
things even existed.
Edge is going to swerve. He is going to face Finn Balor. We are not going to get the demon Finn Balor, unfortunately. I think he might be RIP. But Edge versus Balor, to make Edge go over, you can't have him go against Roman because Roman's destroying the world right now. You can't have him go over McIntyre because that is the feel good. McIntyre is the brand right now. Yes. So NXT, where we have already proven that Finn Balor, hell of a champ, but he can be beaten. Edge comes back, gets the belt off of Balor.
Yeah.
Wow, right. It's definitely a hot take.
Okay. I'll throw a scenario in there. So on NXT, there was a little interaction between one Karrion Kross and Edge. Yes. Do you think there's a possibility that they take the title off Balor before WrestleMania and maybe Karrion Kross gets inserted into that picture instead?
I don't, because I wouldn't mind it, but I felt like if we had more time between where we're at and WrestleMania, if you really want to put that on WrestleMania, absolutely. But I just feel like I just don't think they're. I think they if they more time, yes, but based on the fact that we're only about 2 months, right around 2 months away from WrestleMania. I don't feel like it that story would get a proper build. Now, if you put the title on Edge, and maybe let's say they do it at the takeover before SummerSlam or whatever, around that time, right? Then I'm definitely all for Edge versus Karrion Kross because I think that's enough time to properly build this match. Then you take Edge will do. We know Edge would do the right thing, and I think would put over Karrion Kross because Kross is destined for big things in this company.
Oh yeah,
this would be the first step onto that path.
Yeah, I could see that happening, especially with Impact's schedule. Man, they're out. This Valentine's Vengeance is going to be the last takeover before Mania. And I don't think they drop the main title on just a weekly show.
Yeah, I gotcha. And shout out to Karrion Kross, who will be getting his first WWE action figure with Elite 85. They just put pictures of those up as we're recording today. Figure looks great. That's definitely going to have to be one I get for a future episode of Let Me Out. So that
I love every time you mention that show, Jovanni shakes his head in disgust.
I die on the inside.
Hey, you plugged in on this show, so it's fine now. All right. That's it for NXT. You guys ready to talk AEW?
Let's strap in. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, strap in. This is going to be a good one. All right. So first off, we had the tag team battle royal where the team that won this battle royal won by the Young Bucks last year, where that led to that amazing 6-star, 7-star match of the century versus Young Bucks and Hangman and Kenny Omega for the titles at Revolution last year. This year, they were in the match again, so if they would have won, they would have got to call their shot. And they said, "Hey, if we win, we're going against the Good Brothers at Revolution." Well, unfortunately, those plans didn't work out, and we had a team that honestly, I didn't pick because we do predictions outside of this, and it was probably should have picked this team because the writing was on the wall. But Chris Jericho and MJF are your number one contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championships and will be facing the Young Bucks at Revolution. Guys, what were your thoughts on the match overall? And do you think the right team won?
Go ahead, Jovanni.
I'm going to go first because I'm going to keep it short and sweet just because I was pretty much upset at this. Wrong team won. The right team could have been any combination of the Young Bucks, Private Party, or even Top Flight. Big time wrong move. But that's my 2 cents. DJ, go ahead.
Okay, so we talked about a little earlier how you don't disagree with me often and you disagreed with me. I'm going to kind of say the same thing here. I actually think the right team did win because, I mean, I definitely envision seeing teams like Top Flight eventually getting their chance in a run with these belts, but they're still young. They still need some time to grow, and maybe they get they had a tag team title match, I believe, against the Young Bucks on Dynamite and really stepped it up in that. I just think it'd be too much too soon for them. I agree that this team was the right way to go. I definitely feel like though that this is going to eventually lead to the implosion of the Inner Circle, as evidenced by what we saw after the match. Sammy was pissed. True. Like Sammy was pissed, and Jericho, was kind of like Sammy walked off. Jericho went after him to talk to him, and then you saw MJF kind of like bring the rest of the guys in together. And I almost feel like this is going to be an implosion of the Inner Circle, or it's going to be like I think we're starting to see the seeds of maybe MJF kind of looking to maybe, usurp Chris Jericho as the leader of the Inner Circle and kind of try to turn everybody against, Jericho and stuff. So, and I think that's what this called. And battle royals are always meant to, bring a lot of stories and kind of tie them all in and, tell a bunch of different stories. And one of the things that I really took out of that match was just the like I said it before, this company has plans for Jungle Boy. Clearly, it was over with the crowd. They were singing his song, and the
catchy song.
What's that?
It's a catchy song.
It is. It's a classic song. I'm going to spare everybody's ears. I'm not going to sing it. But I mean, he was over with the crowd. He was over with the announcers. Jungle Boy is going to be a star. And I mean, again, I love these battle royals because so many stories get kind of tied together and everything. And this match, I think, did that. And yes, I definitely feel like the right team won.
All right. Everybody's entitled to their opinion on here. I disagree with both y'all. As you can see by the color of my room, I think the Dark Order should have won. Alex Reynolds and John Silver are primed for the tag team titles, but we'll move on from that.
Do you have, real quick, Spencer, do you have if you get one of those posters with Kenny Omega and Don Callis, the painting, with them with the buffed up bodies, right? One of those, and then cut out a picture of John Silver's head and the picture of Alex Reynolds' head, tape them over there, Omega and Callis, and then hang the poster over your bed on the ceiling right above your bed.
No, he's got the Dark Order emblem tattooed on his butt because what Mama don't know don't hurt her.
I love the Waterboy reference.
Oh my god! Wow, we're getting a Waterboy reference. This thing is totally going off the rails tonight. But hey, it's all good. All right, Jovan. Next up, or at least what I have in our notes, we're getting to the match that you have been dying for and you have been asking for, and that is Thunder Rosa versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. So, my man, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Woo, for a match that's had the build that this one has, man. And it is very rare when you get something that's had that good of a build that I was invested really, really, really big time in this match. For the payoff and the match to be the way it was. There was no interference, or at least a very small amount from Reba. She didn't really factor too much into the match. The storytelling was amazing. The actual in-ring work from both Thunder Rosa and shout out Britt Baker, who I'm not a big fan of. She looked really good as well. This match was everything that I was hoping it would be. Small issue with the finish because, of course, I want Rosa to go over, but dude, Britt Baker, hell of a match. Sold really well with the arm issue, the mandible claw with the bad arm. Everything with this match. The psychology of the match was on point. The storytelling was on point, and the actual in and outs and the just way they wrestled it was amazing. It was a hell of a match, and exactly what we've been waiting for.
I really couldn't have summed up that match any better. And one of the things I'm going to add to what Jovanni said, because I basically agree with everything he said. I loved how they emphasized after the match, like the announcers emphasized, Thunder Rosa did not give up. She was knocked out.
Yep.
And so it's Thunder Rosa didn't lose anything by losing in this match, because again, the announcers made sure to point out that she did not tap. She did not quit. She was out, so I think, and it clearly Britt Baker has improved. She's on her way. I've always said that I feel she's going to be the one that takes the title off Shida. And since Jovanni brought back the hot take, I'm going to throw out a hot take. I'm calling my shot right now. Britt Baker is going to win that women's world title eliminator tournament, and she's going to go on to defeat Shida and become the women's champion.
All right. So since you brought up the women's tournament, I have this for later, but we'll go ahead and get into it now. Dennis is calling for Britt Baker. Jovan, I'm going to ask for your pick in a minute, but I'm going to read off the list for our viewers. So they officially announced who's going to be in the AEW women's tournament that will be happening very soon. I think they've already started filming some matches for that. So I'll give you the Japanese side, which I'm totally going to butcher some of these, so I apologize. So you got Aja Kong, you have Yuka Sakazaki, Veni, Emi Sakura, Ryo Mizume, Mei Shurga, Rin Kadorga, totally terrible. And then this big one that a lot of people think is the front runner in Maki Itoa. And then on the USA side, these are going to be way easier to say. You got Serena Deeb, you have Riho, the first AEW Women's Champion, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Ty Conti, Thunder Rosa, Nyla Rose, Anna Jay, join the Dark Order, and Layla Hirsch. So we already heard Dennis's pick on who he thinks is going to win this tournament. Jovan, who do you think is going to be coming out of this one and face Shida for the title?
So it's going to hurt my heart because as much as I want to say Tay Conti's going to come out of it, she's not.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I'm sure you'll be there to console her, right? If you know
what? I will be there to console her. And if anybody gets in my way, I'm looking at you, Jorge Conti. If you try to get in my way when I try to console my lady after she has to take this loss in this women's tournament, I will give you the 4 most deadly words in all of pro wrestling. That is the 2 Hotty worm. Remember it. Write it down. 4 words, 4 letters, WORM. It is coming to you. Talking Shopomania 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter. In the streets, if I see you at the jiu-jitsu gym, you're rolling, I'm worming in. That's all she wrote, player. So,
go ahead. Finish the thought.
As much as I would love for her to be the one who win it, I do see DMD coming out of this with the win. Dr. Britt's looking real good right now. It might come down to Maki Ito, the front runner, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
So real quick, Jovanni, I just thought of it. We can book yourself, Jovanni Tuhati against Jorge Conti at Talking Shopomania 3 in a blue chew on a pole mat.
Write it down, ladies and gentlemen of the Junkyard. Mark this day, February 6, 2021. That is the official match. Because, Jorge, I don't know if you need it, but I don't, brother.
I can tell you right now, I'm not, not supporting you, Jovan, but I could definitely tell you I don't think he needs it.
Probably doesn't need it right now.
But I'm gonna kind of play off with Jovan, and I have my lady friend Anna Jay is in the tournament as well. I do think she's going to get a strong showing in this. She has been getting better in the ring and just improving overall as a performer. And her skits with BTE, Anna, are amazing. First off, before we move on, guys, if you're not watching BTE, seriously, go watch the Dark Order Slumber Party, and you can see why I'm in love with this faction and why I want to join that family officially and get recognized as an official member. Because
real quick, did you notice how hard it must have been for her to keep a straight face during that?
Breaking so bad.
Yeah, she looked like she was about ready to break.
Yes.
Oh, Johnny Hungy, you are a national treasure, my man. But, guys, I think we're all agreeing here, and I think it has to happen. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, has to go over in this tournament, and that's why she had to beat Thunder Rosa in the match that happened on AEW last week. So, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, future AEW Women's Champion, coming soon.
Sweet. It's unanimous.
Unanimous. Let's get back into a few more matches here before we get into the big development that happened. We had Hangman Page and Matt Hardy, Big Money Matt versus Chaos Project. They went over, of course, because Chaos Project was never going to go over. So the thing was, at the end, Hangman hits his move, I think the buckshot lariat, and then Matt Hardy comes in, takes the pin. He wins it for their team. So, of course, Matt Hardy has to go over and feed his ego because, he's Big Money Matt. That's the storyline. But first off, Hangman, we're still pissed at you for not joining the Dark Order. Hopefully you come around, see the error of your ways, fix that. But anyways, where do you guys see this storyline going with Hangman and Matt Hardy and, Matt Hardy's like recruitment of stars because he's picked up Private Party, turned him heel. Do you think I know he's trying to do it with Hangman, but do you think he'll succeed, or is Hangman just gonna be a loner for a while?
Hangman's gonna be a loner for a while, and I'm telling you right now, I am loving Big Money Matt.
The Carney Hardy, man. I need some royalties on that one day.
I think it was already claimed, but that's fine. All right. Next up, we had an important wedding between Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian. And the official for the festivities that night were Father James Mitchell, who he has been making the rounds. I think he last showed up on the Impact wedding of Rosemary and Johnny Bravo, correct?
Johnny Bravo.
He was also was the man responsible for conjuring up Giovanni's latest woman crush in Susan. That was his Father James Mitchell creation.
Yes.
There you go. Jovanni loves his Susan. But yeah, so and I think Penelope stated like this was actually like the real thing, like the real wedding that actually happened at Dynamite. So that was interesting. And then they gave vows and did all that. But like kind of the big well, believe me, James Mitchell said that perfectly fine. Jovan, I know it's been said, but can you just officially do it one more time for us?
Once again, Kip Sabian, my man, you were on the list.
Yes,
two-timer on Jovan's list.
Man, that dress though.
You're a lucky man, my friend. So
Penelope Ford is definitely super bad.
Yes. So congrats to you two on your marriage. But then we moved on to the best man, Miro. His gift was him to them. But then there was a spot at the end where Charles, the butler, is getting them wine. And there's actually a funny part where Miro is giving a speech and he was like, and he saw a box he destroyed. It's like, I know what happens at weddings. But before that, he just said, in his speech, he was like, what is love? And then, of course, as a wrestling crowd, when you hear that, it's like, oh, hey, that's the perfect time to, sing that song, what is love? So the big kind of storyline after, the marriage goes through is Miro gets chained up on handcuffs, his feet. He can't move. Charles attacks Kip, and then pretty much obvious there was a big cake, and Orange Cassidy pops out. Well, actually, Penelope Ford goes into the cake, and Orange Cassidy pops out, and they attack. So that storyline is not over yet. We're probably going to get the end of that probably at Revolution, probably.
If anything, this segment proved that one thing: you can have your cake and eat it too.
God, that was horrible. If it proves anything, it proves one thing: don't get married in a wrestling wedding. Come on now.
Thank you. That's what we need to take. DDJ,
man, you guys ain't no fun.
I know. DDJ, lay off the cake and champagne.
A little bit of the bubbly.
There you go. All right. So that's it for AEW. Nothing else really happened. There wasn't a big main event. There wasn't some big shocker at the end. It just ended on the wedding, right? That was it? No, I'm joking. We're getting into it now.
I was about to bust out my inner Red Foreman and call you a dumbass.
Wow. Okay, so for DDJ and myself, this has been the Junkyard. Jovan, you're on here too, I guess.
All right.
I'm joking. Let's get into this main event because Okay. Main event time. Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, the Impact Tag Team Champions, versus Jon Moxley, Phoenix, and Pac. Before we even get into the match, I don't know if you guys noticed, but we got some new entrance music for Kenny and the Good Brothers from one Mikey Ruckus. Throwing out a new theme, so that was nice to hear.
Absolutely, it works because it really. Anytime you have music for like a group, or something that's like one unified song for their, group, it really kind of legitimizes that these guys are together. And that, so yeah, Mikey Ruckus does great work with this music, and this was another example of the great work he does.
Agreed.
Yeah. So the match itself, great overall. All these performers killed it in the ring as always. There was no question this match was going to be great. But you guys want to talk about the match, and then we'll get into what happened after?
Shoot the shot. Forget the match. The match was great. Go watch it if you want to. We're getting to the meat and potatoes.
All right, good.
Real quick before we go into this was actually such a big occurrence. We had people in the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook group saying they wanted an episode of the Junkyard sooner than what we were putting out, just so we could talk about this. So that tells you right there how big this was.
We're jumping to it now.
Yeah, jump into it, Spence. Let's not keep the people waiting any longer.
All right, got to give the people what they want. So after the match, there is, everybody's in the ring, like they're doing their finishers. Jon Moxley is just standing in the ring by himself. He's got the upper hand over everybody. Nothing's gonna happen. I think that's where we're gonna cut the black. There's nothing that could possibly do that could top the match that there's somebody that just attacked Jon Moxley. This dude hits him, takes off his hood, and holy shit, it is Kenta from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the current holder of the IWGP United States Championship briefcase, who is facing Jon Moxley in February at a New Japan show. So Kenta just laid out an AEW star, and this is the moment everybody lost their freaking minds, because there was a tweet like 2 or 3 months, whatever, back that Tony Khan says, hey, I know we didn't capitalize on what we were going to do that night, but just stay with us. It's coming. We're about to have a shift in the balance of the wrestling world. And honestly, I think that shift, it hasn't fully happened yet, but we're definitely starting to see the beginnings of it. Guys, I don't know if the gate's fully open, but we're pretty damn close to that happening.
Yeah, I mean, what seemed like a pipe dream only, a couple of months ago, it's now reality. We actually have a wrestler currently under contract to New Japan Wrestling on an AEW show. It's been something that's been talked about really since you think about it, since last year's Wrestle Kingdom, when Chris Jericho wrestled Hiroshi Tanahashi, and the stipulation that match was if Tanahashi won, he was going to get a future AEW title shot, and then the portal would be open.
Yeah,
we're seeing that now with this. Like you said, it may not be fully open, but it's about as about as deep into this relationship as we've gotten so far, and it's gonna open. It almost has to open, because we're gonna finally, we're gonna see him. I fully expect there to be more of a New Japan influence, especially once all the COVID travel restrictions opened up. Spencer's, for those of you listening to this on audio, Spencer's, wearing his Bullet Club hoodie, and definitely expect the Bullet Club to have a presence in this when all is said and done, because a certain member of that Bullet Club, who's also a former guest on the Junkyard, has been quite opinionated about a lot of goings on with all of this.
Yeah, you think?
Yep.
Yeah, I think.
And that's where I'm going to have to agree with Tama Tonga. Tama came out and stated, hey, the door's not really open. It's cracked. It's cracked. Kenta has business. And what we're not understanding is Kenta has business with Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is contracted to New Japan. He's the champ. He has to defend it eventually.
Yeah.
Kenta's been doing what he can in Japan. It's time for him to go over there and do the work. And now it seems that Kenta's coming in there, staking his claim to the title, which is well deserved. The man has been on a hell of a run. He's defended his briefcase, which is the right to challenge for that title, as the title itself in Japan during this whole COVID situation. So from that standpoint, you have, just like I said with Moose, you have an uncrowned champion who is coming for that belt. When we get down to it, and I know the wrestling world is abuzz, everybody wants to think that this is going to be the mega partnership between AEW and New Japan. That could still be coming. Don't get me wrong. That's in the works. I think we're seeing it coming out. But I'm going to agree with Tama Tonga. Tama said, don't call it a full-on, the door is open until somebody who isn't contracted by AEW and New Japan shows up at either show. He said, if you get somebody fully contacted and contracted only through New Japan and they show up on AEW, or somebody on AEW who has never been contracted with NJPW shows over there, then the door is open. So as of now, I think it's 100% business. This is, hey, my champ is stuck in your country. Let us go over there, get the belt off of him, bring it back here so we can keep doing our storylines. And Tony Khan, being a smart man, is like, okay, you know what? He has it in his contract that he wrestles with you guys. I had the caveat that it can't be in the U.S. Why not? Let me go ahead and say it's fine, because there's a lot of storyline between our two companies. And when you look at it, there's a lot of places that this can go. This is why all the fans are buzzing. Because when you thought Impact Wrestling was big, Impact doesn't have anywhere near the history as New Japan and AEW does. The cornerstones of AEW were New Japan Wrestling. So once we start to see the real door open, this is going to be amazing. Right now, though, this is basically groundwork.
Okay. Well, the only issue I kind of have with that statement is he talks about someone who's not under contract to AEW and New Japan showing up on the show or whatever. I think I got, if I took that out of context or I misquoted, I'm wrong. But technically, isn't he only under contract to New Japan?
Correct. Kenta is only under contract under New Japan, but he's saying, like, the reason he's there is because of Moxley, because Moxley is an NJPW wrestler.
Okay, I got you now. That okay. I
Not like Kenta wasn't going after Kenny Oshmega, like he calls him. He was going after Moxley, who is a New Japan wrestler.
Right. And
of, Kenta and Kenny Omega, I don't know, Spencer, was that what you were going to talk about?
That's what I was going to talk about.
I'm going to be a gentleman here and not steal your thunder. I'm going to let you take it away.
Oh, thanks, DDJ. I'll be nice to you the rest of the pod. We'll see, actually. So there was a little promo or a little backstage segment where Kenta was walking out, and then Kenny Omega says, "Oh, what's up, Kenta? How you doing? I didn't know brother Switchblade was sending you here." And then Kenta basically told him to F off. But then Kenny was like, "Oh man, that's so cool having Kenta here. Maybe we'll have to get a match. Maybe, you know what? You're not under AEW contract. We got this thing. It's called a lights out match. Yeah, let's have one of those. Let's have you and myself. We'll tag team together. We'll go against Mox." And then I forgot to mention Lance Archer came out and joined the fray at the end. So they're bringing an Archer into that storyline as well, or at least into this match. So next week, and it has been made official, we are getting Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, and Kenta, New Japan star Kenta, versus Jon Moxley and Lance Archer in a Fall of Count Anywhere match, and that's going to be your main event on Dynamite this week. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to rock the house. Kenta's Bullet Elite. He's not Bullet Club anymore, and I think he needs to start realizing that, because his interactions with him and Kenta don't feel like friends, and they've never been in the Bullet Club at the same time. Neither has him or Switchblade, so it makes no real sense to him referencing Switchblade Jay White, because they were never in the same clique at the same time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but didn't Kenny Omega initially try? Wasn't he the one that initially tried to recruit Jay White in the club?
Mm-hmm.
And Jay White denied or declined at that time.
Right.
Yeah,
so
he turned and joined Chaos.
I mean, it's It's to the point, man, where I'm having a feeling that maybe Kenny Omega is having eyes of grandeur and remembering the past and thinking that he's still Bullet Club. But the BCOG do not consider Kenny Omega Bullet Club. And I think that's going to be a story that they could look into in the future once everything, hopefully, we get the relationship that we want. Because there's going to be a time when Kenny Omega gets that harsh reality that, no, brother, you are not Bullet Club. And you, the Good Brother, the Bucks, these fake BCs, you're just BC light.
All right. Hot words from our own Jovanni Too Hotty tonight here on the Junkyard. But I mean, I kind of agree with you, both your points for sure. I don't know if this is really a hot take, but it's kind of prediction for the end of the year. I think by 2022, I think the gate will be open and we're going to be seeing a lot more New Japan and AEW stars coexisting on the brands, and we'll be getting some more cooperation between the two. I definitely see that happening just now with the door being, slightly cracked with Kenta. Don't be shocked if, Tama was saying, contracted in JPW star appearing on AEW or the same way. Don't be shocked if he's the first one to do it, because I think he would definitely be the one to show up first.
The Gorillas would definitely be the ones to invade. That's going to have to be how you go.
Mm-hmm. And we were talking about that on a former past episode of the Junkyard. I think it was the one with when we talked about winter is coming. We talked to when that happens, or maybe even when we talked with Tom, like whenever that happens and the internet will break, it's close to breaking, but when that happens, like people were saying, oh man, we can't wait for you guys to talk on the Junkyard. When that happens, we might even have to go live like right after or the day after to talk about it, because it's going to be so big.
Yep. Yes.
But I can't wait for that. But before we move on from what happened this week in wrestling and give our Junkyard picks of the week, guys, they had New Japan had like a little press conference that happened basically right after all this Kenta, and we were kind of speculating what might happen. What they end up announcing was that New Japan will now be on a new streaming home with Roku TV. They're going to have a 1 hour show coming out, I think, every Thursday with content from what happened that week in New Japan. I think also like putting up past New Japan material as well. So I think they're still going to have New Japan World, but this will be like another outlet to be able to get New Japan content out to USA fans and fans out all over the world. So definitely excited by that. I think it will actually start February 11th will be this Thursday. So be interesting to see what kind of content they put on there, and if they, do pay-per-views and all that good stuff on there as well.
So from what I'm understanding, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, one thing that I want to bring up from Dynamite that we should have mentioned. We're going to get that big tag team match with Cody and Red Velvet against Shaq and Jade Cargill on the Dynamite episode before Revolution versus actually Revolution, because of the fact that Revolution falls on the day of what's supposed to be the NBA All-Star game and stuff, and that's going to obviously Shaq's contract with TNT has him actually having to be there, so that's kind of the reason we're getting that match on Dynamite versus actually getting on Revolution.
DDJ, do you think there's maybe a point we didn't mention it?
Yeah.
You know what?
That went over like a wet fart.
Honestly, since we're bringing this up, honestly, number 11 does not care for that match. The only reason I'm even remotely excited or have any interest in this is Jade Cargill needs to go over. It needs to look like a megastar. That's literally the only thing I want out of this. Red Velvet can look great too, but Jade Cargill has not had a match on TV. This match should just be about putting her and Red Velvet over. That's it.
Cody wins.
If Cody wins, I don't know. I'll burn a Cody action figure if that happens.
Cody wins. Cody puts the Crossroads on Shaq because he'll take it.
Okay.
Now that we're done with that,
I have a reaction to you saying that you were going to burn a Cody figure.
No, because I know he doesn't have the stones.
I won't actually do it, but
See, getting back to New Japan, where the fun is with Roku now. I believe that this is trying to get interest, man. I think this is US and UK with the Roku.
Yeah.
They are doing, I guess, small archived content to try to give you best of the past. They're going to give recaps of the week, kind of like we do here on the Junkyard, and kind of get people into their program because, I mean, honestly, NJPW does have a cult following. You don't have your wrestling fans, not everybody knows about them. And yes, they've gotten more appeal lately with the mainstream appeal of the Bullet Club, but there is a rich, long history for a company that's been around for a little over 40 years or around there. So, yeah, man, it's something that it's not going to replace NJPW World. If you want to watch NJPW on the constant, that is a must. Also, since we're talking about New Japan, kicking it over to Strong from Friday night. If you're not watching, it is one of the best hours of wrestling because it is only an hour that they are putting out right now. It's guys in the US that are trying to get into like the NWJP US version. So Strong is putting on some real good matches. Give yourself a watch there. John Moxley, who is the former AEW champion, current NJPW IWGP US champion, was on there and he cut a promo on Kenta after the attack. And Moxley, does a Mox promo. Bulk of the promo, if you want this belt, you're not going to be able to run around crying for it. You're not going to be able to petition your way into it. You're not going to politic your way into it. You're going to have to kick a hole through my chest. So the build-up for that match is happening on Strong. The build-up for that match is happening on Dynamite. So if you're not into NJPW Strong, give it a look. It is worth a watch.
All right. I think that's going to wrap it up, for talking about what happened this week in wrestling. Before we move on to talking about our weekly roundtable, which actually will be centered on New Japan Pro Wrestling this week. Guys, what is your Junkyard pick of the week, the match that you think the Junkies should go out of their way and make sure they watch if they only have time for one match or maybe even two matches this week?
Jovanni, you lead it off, my man.
Just because I am that Mark, and I love the build-up, and I love the match, give me Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, AEW.
For me, the one match, if you can watch one match from everything that it was on TV this week, go watch Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro from SmackDown. And
my pick is actually going to be something different. I think you need to go out of your way and watch the main event from AEW with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Phoenix, Pac, and John Moxley, and then also the post-match. So I'm kind of putting two together, but I think just because of the moment that happened after, it's worth putting into there too.
It was a full segment.
Yeah. So definitely go out of your way. So watch at least those three matches. Go out of your way, honestly, and just watch more wrestling. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan now more than ever. Like every year, we kind of have like a stagnant year the past few years, but overall, it's been getting better every year. And I just think it's going to keep getting better with everything that's going on. Even if there's no partnerships or anything, just with all the good wrestling out there. So just don't limit yourself to one brand, like say AEW or WWE. Go out of your way and, watch Impact or ROH or MLW, or go to your local indie show. Broaden your horizons. Just don't focus on, one brand. This is just a blanket statement to everyone. Just watch wrestling. It's great. And even though there might be some shows that might just be focused on developmental talent, people might like those. So just, check them out. That's all I got to say on that.
That's the best part about wrestling, right? Being a wrestling fan right now is that there's something out there for everyone.
And if you're a sick freak like me that likes to see dudes get cut with pizza cutters, go through glass, get hit with fluorescent light bulbs, there's deathmatch wrestling. So there's literally everything out there for everybody.
There you go. You even got the weirdo wrestling.
Right.
But guys, we talked a lot this week. We have just probably a little small roundtable because we're actually just going to be giving you just a little taste of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Because on not the next episode, but on a later episode of the Junkyard, we're going to dive in to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Because right now, I think more than ever, if the viewers that aren't familiar with New Japan, And we've been getting requests for a lot more New Japan content. So we're going to give that to you guys. But on this week's weekly roundtable, we're just going to give you just a little bit of brief history and why you should start to care about New Japan Pro Wrestling. So without further ado, here's this week's weekly roundtable about New Japan Pro Wrestling. All right, so yes, like I teased, we're just going to be talking a little bit of New Japan Pro Wrestling this week's roundtable. We hope to probably get maybe a couple people out in the Junkie group that are very knowledgeable about pro wrestling or New Japan Pro Wrestling. So stay tuned for updates about that. But without further ado, Jovan, tell the people a little bit about the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Ooh, in the land of the rising sun, New Japan Pro Wrestling was founded January 13, 1972, which is the 1972 you will see on the New Japan World when you log in. So that makes it 49, almost 50 years old. So I undershot the age by a little bit. Of course, we all know, or if you didn't know, now you know, it was the brainchild of Antonio Inoki. Inoki, who is revered and regarded as one of the best wrestlers in Japan. Maybe because he booked himself. Who knows? That's a debate for another day. Maybe
Right.
for our big time NJPW episodes. But we have this guy in Inoki who basically was and to make it easier, kind of think of it as territories in Japan. You had Japan Pro Alliance. You had like the All Japan. You had all these wrestling there. But they weren't really popular. It was more of a tune and akin to like a lot of indies because nobody really had taken that step to become big out there. And wrestling at the time wasn't very big in Japan. So to be honest, they started to branch out. And New Japan was very big with trying to work with people in the States where there was a big want for wrestling. So for all of our older fans who are like DDJ and myself, you probably remember seeing people like Yushin Thunder Liger in WCW. You might remember the WCW and JPW super shows or the NWA Alliance having New Japan sponsorships. All those guys back in that time kind of fed off of each other, right? And New Japan as a growing company kind of wanted to take the U.S. model to Japan. So to kind of give the Japanese consumer wrestling, because there, as I stated, it wasn't as big as it was here. So they learned, as all good wrestlers do that come on their journey here, because some of them do leave Japan and come here when they're young lions. We'll get into that in a future episode too. I'm looking at you, Okada. You're welcome. We made you the Rainmaker. But they came here and essentially were like, okay, this is how you get that mass appeal. DDJ, you remember anything from the NWA Alliance's time?
Well, I know a lot of times, like back in the day, you had Muda was, in WCW in like the late 80s, early 90s. Even had a run with the television title.
Yep.
One of the things I didn't hear that I think should be brought to attention is there were a lot of guys who made their names in New Japan before coming over here. We're talking about Eddie Guerrero as I believe it was the Black Tiger.
The Black Tiger.
And, Owen Hart was in New Japan, I believe, before, for a brief period of time. Obviously, there you had the Dynamite Kid, the legendary feud with Tiger Mask way back in the early 80s. You also
Texas Kid.
you had mentioned, Juice and Thunder Liger already. Let's also talk about back in, I think it was like 92 or something or 91 when Ric Flair, who was the champion at the time, was fired and they had to, surrender the belt or relinquish being the WCW NWA champion. That put the whole NWA title into flux, and they did a little tournament with a lot of the guys from WCW. I believe this is when Chono won the IWGP title, and he beat, I believe it was Ravishing Rick Rude in the finals. And I know they would have a match at Halloween Havoc, and then they had the thing, Muda beat Chono for the title, and then Barry Windham beat the Great Muda at Super Brawl 3 for the NWA title. Let's also talk about the Starrcade 1995 pay-per-view, which was basically centered around WCW versus New Japan. New Japan was trying to take over WCW, and there were a lot of really good matches, and it's just New Japan it's been around. I think it's had a bigger influence in the US for a longer period of time than most people want to give it credit for, because not a lot of people, at least, the younger crowd that follows New Japan today, I know the hardcore fans know this, but like maybe some of the newer fan stuff may not realize how much of a presence New Japan actually had in the USA in like the late 80s, early 90s. And we talked about, guys like, Hogan was, actually the original IWGP champion, and then that was retired, and then it made way for the belt that we all, know and have come to become acquainted with. You look at New Japan's influence really being felt all over the world now, because you look at guys like Kenny Omega doing what he's doing, the Young Bucks doing what they're doing, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. New Japan has such a stranglehold all around the world, and it's nice to see that more people are getting exposed to that. And I could say so much more, but I want to save some from when we actually go deep into our New Japan discussion.
So to give you a little bit more and to take a step back from where DDJ went with all the current roster people who you may or may not have recognized those names from WWE programming, AEW programming. As I stated earlier, all the EVPs from AEW are New Japan guys. They came here in the 80s. They came here in the 90s. New Japan was here big trying to learn the craft. And then in the 2000s, something amazing happened, right? There was these fighting organizations known as mixed martial arts that started to take Japan by storm.
Yep.
And being the ever carny that he was, Antonio Inoki's like, okay, I have wrestlers and these guys shoot, and some of them are legit badasses, which is where the strong style came from, because most of these early matches were shoots. Now, Inoki's crazy idea was to put some of his wrestlers in there with legitimate MMA guys. That's how you can go back in the annals of Pride history, which is Pride Fighting Championships, and see guys like Shinsuke Nakamura inside of a Pride ring and just get demolished by a knee. I think he broke his orbital bone, which was very disgusting. And the early 2000s, towards the end of Inoki's reign, before he sold the company to Ukes, which is, for all you wrestling fans and video gamers, that Ukes, yes, the video game developers, he tried to make wrestling mainstream by making it with mixed martial arts. And it worked until the mixed martial artists were actually whooping the ass of the wrestlers in these real events. Double-edged sword. You make some of your big guys look weak because they get dominated, but you get the appeal, you get the name out there. A lot of people started to confuse MMA and wrestling, because if you watch Pride, it's not in a cage like they are here in the US. They were in an actual ring, so it looked like wrestling. So Inoki at least was smart on that sense to try to hitch the two together. But Ukes making it like gaming, Ukes took it to the next level when they took over NJPW. They went in there quick, started popping out these crappy games. Brock Lesnar was there, so they were able to capitalize on the bigness. Bob Sapp, freaking all these guys who were legends in wrestling were at New Japan, like DDJ said. Eddie Guerrero was there in his early days. Chris Benoit, who was a Pegasus Kid. You've got everybody. Hogan was the first actual champ, like DDJ said, until Inoki vacated that belt, discontinued it, and then created what we have now, so he could be the first champ. But, guys, the history of this company, to how it started, how it came here, how it boomed off of the actual fighters, people who could actually fight. DDJ, I can't remember, I forget who it was that actually created Pancreas Fighting, which is around today. It's actual still shoot fighting.
Yep.
While he looks that up, I'll keep going on that point.
Here, okay. It says Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling is a mixed martial arts promotion company founded in Japan in 1993 by professional wrestlers Masakatsu Funaki, and someone that I think people that follow New Japan are very familiar with, and that is one of the scariest wrestlers in New Japan right now. That would be Mr. Minoru Suzuki.
Now, Masaharu Funaki isn't Funaki from the WWE, is it?
No, this is a different Funaki. This isn't the SmackDown.
That would have been cool.
That would have been a funny cross. Exactly. But Minoru Suzuki, if you're a New Japan fan, that man is a beast. They do the Minoru is going to kill you because, quite frankly, damn it, he can. That's why he does this. So, just to kind of give you guys an idea, the early days of New Japan, yes, it was a little rough. Inoki really ran that like a carnival. He came to the U.S. They had all these crossovers. You had the crossover from 95 where was the official, unofficial first Wrestle Kingdom, and then after the Super Show, they started doing Wrestle Kingdoms, which became New Japan's WrestleMania. They had that wonky show in Korea, which is the most attended live show ever, supposedly. What was that show, DJ?
Collision in Korea.
What was the reported attendance?
Wasn't it like something like 110 or 120,000 or something like that?
No, it was 300 something, brother.
I don't remember, but it was
a lot.
Crazy number.
It was something real obnoxious because 100 and something would have been the WrestleMania for Dallas, and I know that Korea. Yeah, here we go. Korea recorded 355,000 people.
Oh.
Wow.
That's what we're saying. That's bullcrap. But
I mean, they were probably all forced to be there, but
exactly. So then now we get to the product that we know now of New Japan Pro Wrestling, man. You know, and then we kind of given steps on how we got to where we are now. Of course, Utes eventually sold the company to the current owners, which I'm gonna butcher them again because I can't remember how to say the trading card name. What was it?
Bushi Road.
Bushi Road. There we go, Spencer. So the card company bought it from Ukes, which is a gaming company, and they take it to the next level. Bushi Road was able to make it mainstream of Japan by doing their card games, their trading card games, their electronic games, kind of backing off of what Ukes did to really make it catch fire out there. And then it only helps when you have some really amazing wrestlers that end up in Japan because of the ire that you get for being out there. I mean, you've only got people like Kenny Omega. You have your Shinsuke Nakamura's, your AJ Styles, big names in wrestling emanating from Japan. And everybody wanted to go there at one time or another because Japan had slowly gotten this word of mouth about them, about being the place to be at. So you take that, then you get this massive whirlwind of this group that is going to change the world and burn the place down with the Bullet Club that gain massive appeal with their badass emblems and their wrestlers who just take it to a whole nother level. And for those that are not really very well versed in NJPW, they're not the only faction in New Japan. You still have Suzuki Gun, you still have Chaos, you have the LIJ, and you know some of these factions still have Harry. The Empire now.
Gucci Japan.
Yeah. And you have all these factions, but the one that really put everybody on the map was the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Because that's what really got that worldwide fame, except for in Mexico, they're LIJ. And that's part of those crossovers. Japan and Mexico, CMLL, New Japan, they have that working relationship still. They still have it with ROH. And there's plenty of working relationships that New Japan have now. So you've probably seen the wrestlers. I'll be surprised if you don't know. Bless you.
Thank you.
If you don't know a Tetsuya Naito, if you don't know a Kazuchika Okada, if you don't know the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, if you don't know Minoru Suzuki, some of these guys who have been with NJPW for a while that have at least traveled around in the States, traveled around in Mexico, and done their thing and really just made that company. When I say New Japan, and this is what the 100% respect, this is not a slide. New Japan is the AEW of the past. AEW is trying to do now what New Japan did then. So
I like that.
Yeah, that's where we're at now. And in New Japan, for them, they didn't really have the big brother of the WWE because they were in a completely different continent. They worked with the WWE on plenty of times. Inoki is a WWE Hall of Famer. and so is Yushin Liger. But they were able to take from everybody. They learned from everybody, created their style, created their own theatrics, created their own shows. Wrestle Kingdom now is a bona fide draw. It is 100% the next big thing in wrestling besides WrestleMania. If you don't know by New Japan by now, stay tuned, guys. We're going to dig deep. We're going to dive into it when we do our special. We're going to bring in some junkie experts who know New Japan in and out, guys who can tell you about the wars of Suzuki, the wars of the Great Muta, guys who can tell you why, Shinsuke Nakamura is being so vastly underused because of what he was able to do when he was in New Japan. So stay tuned. We're going to get there. We're going to make sure you guys have enough knowledge so when this eventual crossover happens, you're going to be able to sound cool to your friends.
Because we all know how important sounding cool to your friends really is.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's literally, what it's all about. We just want to make sure, like, when you guys talk wrestling, you'll know what you're talking about. Jovan, Dennis, guys, thank you for just, that brief history and, talking about New Japan. Like, I literally, I'm learning about this, not for the first time, but I mean, like, just learning about like all this stuff and everything that happened. I'm still vastly knowledgeable about the past, so I think this big super show we do on New Japan is just going to be great, not only for myself but everybody that only knows New Japan from up to like 2016 to when Kenny Omega and all the elite left. Like, they're probably still staying tuned right now, but that's like really when the boom period of New Japan started hitting and like when it more got the mainstream appeal. So I think, when we do our big super show with the New Japan experts, the junkies that we bring in to talk about this, it's going to be very beneficial. But, there's just so much history with New Japan. I really loved what you said, Jovan, and again, no disrespect to any New Japan fans or anything, but yeah, New Japan is the AEW of the past, and AEW is trying to do that, like take things from other, promotions and get it to work in theirs. And they're slowly starting to do that. And, when the eventual door is open, when that gate is open, it's going to be a beautiful thing just to see that. And just, the stories and history in New Japan, when we get into that more fully, I think that's going to be a can't miss episode. And I think anybody that is at least interested or doesn't know much about New Japan, like if you've liked what you've heard, there's so much more coming. And you haven't heard anything yet. So just stay with us, junkies. We'll get you informed on New Japan the best we can, and get you ready and caught up for the eventual gate opening and the mass collaboration that is coming this year with everything that's going on.
So real quick, I think the best way to sum up the excitement level, I'm going to quote the legendary sportscaster Bob Costas in a very memorable line from Basketball. You're excited. Feel these nipples?
Oh my. Yes, we got a Basketball reference. I love it.
Oh, amazing.
That's an underrated movie, by the way.
It is.
It really is.
Got milk.
Okay. All right. So that's not where I thought that was going to go at all. But guys, thank you again, Jovan and Dennis, for just giving us like a brief history of New Japan, like kind of like the big highlights, but there's still so much more to talk about.
So much.
And we will be getting into that in our future episode, like a bonus episode of the Junkyard, where it's just all New Japan, nothing else. It's
Call it New Japan for Dummies.
There you go. NJPW for Dummies.
Seriously, we could probably go viral with that. But guys, thank you again for joining us on another great edition of the Junkyard. There was a lot that happened this week in wrestling, a lot that happened outside the world of wrestling. We learned a little bit about New Japan. Again, so much more to talk about on a future episode of the Junkyard. If you like what you hear, please leave a comment, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify if you can. Let us know how we're doing. Again, we're on episode 15. We've been doing this for a while. Right now, we're not doing this like for the viewers or anything, but we definitely want to grow the Junkyard. So definitely want some more interaction between you guys. So let's get that conversation going. Let's get talking about this. Just, let us know what you're excited about on future episodes. You've probably noticed, I want to go ahead and address this. We're not doing the class this week. That might be something we phase out. Let us know if you want us to keep that. We'll definitely bring that back a few times. So we want to get the show to where for you guys, we don't do this for The Rock. We do it for you guys. So guys, thank you again for joining us. My name has been Spencer Cantor, number 11, Join the Dark Order. You can find me on Twitter at number 11SC, but you could also make sure you guys are following. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, PW_Junkies. Again, amazing content. We have Let Me Out with me and Dennis, unboxing brawlers and elites and all that stuff. Jovan will eventually get a series for himself where he showcases his mock elites and everything else he has. We got Getting to Know a Junkie, Show and Tell, Toilet Side Wrestling. All the podcasts are on there. Such Good Shoot. What Do You Say with DDJ? The Junkyard. All in video format. So, you guys, I don't know what you're doing if you're not. We only have, I think, 140 subscribers on YouTube. Let's get that number up to 1,000. Honestly, in the next month or so, I think that should be a problem. But again, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, subscribe to our Twitter, our Instagram at PW_Junkies. And if for whatever reason, if you're not a part of the group, please go join our group. Look up Pro Wrestling Junkies, type it in Google, first thing that pops up there, and then join the Pro Wrestling Junkies marketplace. And then if you like what you hear, if you like what you're seeing, go get some merch at prowrestlingtees.com/Pro Wrestling Junkies, which Dennis is rocking one of our shirts. Be a babyface, not a heel. That's a motto we live by. We are a positive wrestling community. So go get yourself a t-shirt. Maybe save yourself some money if you subscribe to Pro Wrestling Crate, get a 10% off code, or maybe somebody will give you one. But that's all the plugs I have. Dennis, finish it off. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook as Dennis Day Jr. You can follow me on Twitter at Dennis W. Day Jr. My podcast, What Do You Say with DDJ, is also on Facebook as What Do You Say with DDJ, and then you can follow the show on What Do You Say DDJ, and that. So, and again, every Monday at midnight, new episode of What Do You Say with DDJ. So, no, that's my cheap pop, and I do it because I got to give the people what they want.
And what the people want, once again, if you want to connect with me outside of this show, guys, I am on the Twitter machine at Jovanni2Hotty. I am on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook page under Jovan Menacho. That is my given name. I am pretty active. If you yell at me, I yell back. Give me your good opinions, your bad opinions. Give me your hot takes. Maybe they'll end up here. Guys, we're all normal people. We're three normal people. We like talking to everybody. We like talking to wrestling, and this is why we do it. We do it for you.
Oh, and real quick, guys, be sure to we're still working on the details, but Pro Wrestling Junkies is going to be having a heavy presence at the upcoming Chicagoland Championship Wrestling Show on Saturday night, April 17th, 2021. Jovanni and I, along with Toilet Side Wrestling Talks, Brad Marcus, will be the host of the official CCW pre-show. So, guys, please, the details are still being worked on, and as soon as we know how you can watch, we're going to share those details with you.
I guarantee you don't want to miss it.
Nope. That's right. That's a can't miss show. So whenever the details for that come out, we'll definitely share those with you. But again, everyone, thank you for listening or watching this week's episode of The Junkyard. It's been a late one. I think it's time to take them home. So, guys, let's end every episode how we end with The Junkyard. Good night. See you guys later. Junkies out. Bang.